Another new toy. See if I can't fix some dents. Welcome back to the garage. So like I said in the intro, I got a stud welding kit. Harbor Freight, of course. This is another one of those tools where you look on eBay or Amazon or someplace like that around, and all these tools looks especially the same. So this is by far the cheapest one. It's just about $100. No coupon can be used with their welding equipment, unfortunately, unless you get extra lucky. So I had to pay full price, but comes with 100 2mm and 3mm studs, and then the slide hammer thing that kind of connects to the stud to help you bang the dent out or pull the dent out. So again, I'm going to use that on the nose of the bonnet here, which I've got to get arranged to do so, and I'll go through that. As far as the painting goes, all I'm really going to paint today is get build primer on the door here. You notice that, maybe notice anyway, that the windshield frame isn't here. That's looking good, and I put her away for future use. So I'll get this door painted. I think I'll do that first, and then get this bonnet arranged and go from there. So the door is in 2 coats of build primer. I'll come back to that in a little bit. So that's obviously the business end of the spot welder here. And I've got these little pins. They come 2mm and 3mm. There's a specific tip associated with that. And simply, this is kind of like the flattened end, if you can kind of see how that's like a nail head almost. But the pointy end goes in here. And then this is spring loaded here, which is a little too hard for me to push on with my hand. You push that against the metal. There's a little trigger on the back over here. Pull that for about a second, and there should be a little spark, and then it should weld that little spike to whatever you want to weld it to. So I'm going to go ahead and show you that on a piece of practice metal, just to make sure that I know kind of what I'm doing here and I don't mess something up, and we'll see how that goes. Let me get the camera set up here, and I'll be right back. So much like you would expect with any welding process, you need to just clean the metal. So this is just a piece of scrap metal off the old boot lid, off of Dorothy's original boot lid. Just cleaned off a piece of metal there. And I'm going to go ahead, and you can see that thing almost fell out. But anyway, you load the little tip in there. Put that on the piece of metal. You can see it kind of spring loads down. It comes in contact with the metal. You're supposed to hold it about a second. Now I don't expect anything more than like a little spark here. Alright, so that was about a second. Pull it up, and then it should give you the spot weld. And you'll see a little discoloration around there. I'll come and zoom in a little bit for you so you can see. Alright, so there's what it looks like. You can see it also penetrated the back there pretty well and burnt a little bit of the desk. So I thought I smelled wood. I guess that's a good thing. So I'll give you some idea of how powerful it is. You can also see there I got a little bit of residual arc where the tip contacted, but I bet you that's in there pretty good. Alright, doesn't seem to be hot anymore. Yeah, that's in there pretty good. So then we'll take that and I'll put the camera back here and I'll show you what's next. Alright, so now with that, I'm going to take the little slide hammer thing there with the tip. Tip's got a little cam. Get it on camera here. Little cam roller in it. I don't know if you're going to be able to see the cam. That's kind of low inside and kind of high, so the cam will roll on that and grab here. So you put that all the way down and then kind of roll your cam to grab it. Roll the cam back. Kind of grabs it there, and you would just take that slide hammer and roll it. Now obviously this is not attached to anything, so it's not going to do me a whole lot of good. And then when you're done, you simply go along, snip off the little excess there, and then grind it flush. All right, so that's the plan. The trigger seemed to be good. Seems to be holding on there pretty good. Yep. So I broke the needle before I lost the weld. So that's a wonderful thing. All right, so this dent right here is the major one on the nose. You can kind of see it looks like a little smiley face. But again, that's right in the area where I can't get any. I can get the dolly in there, but I really can't do any work, and it's too hard and bent too hard for me. The slapping spoon wasn't doing anything. So my intention is to put, I don't know, 3 or 4 of these little needles in there, and then use that slide hammer and try to slide it out a little bit. So this is an iterative process from my best understanding of it. There's a whole bunch of little divots in here, and we'll see how it goes. And again, I did go back and clean this metal up. So now that we got that on there, got 4 studs on there, and I'm going to take the center ones first and try to work my way from the center out, I think. See how that works. Alright, so I got the camera set up here to try to show you the dent as it comes out. Who knows if it's really going to come out or not. Like I said, I haven't done this before. Put the slide hammer in there. Roll the tip back, make sure it gets a good grip. Alright, so I had a little problem there getting the thing back off. Guess I should have practiced that beforehand. So essentially when you put this down, roll it to lock it down, you kind of roll it back towards yourself, and that'll prevent it from moving out. And then when you're ready to release it, you push in a little bit on it and it'll just let it go. What I had done was I jammed it all the way down to almost flush here, like you can see. And then when I tried to roll it forward, there was no forward way to go. So I kind of ended up tearing it off. Yeah, so it's a little tricky getting this thing off. So I kind of got that one pulled out okay. It's definitely not done by any means. I'll work over on this one and I'll come back to this one. But this in the center, I can see where this is going to require quite a few pins to get this all done. Alright, well, it's definitely coming out. It's not rocket science. Put several more pins into this one here. This is going to be bad, especially right around here. I know I keep saying that and you really can't see anything. So this is going to be bad, especially in here. You can see that that's a pretty, I think you can anyway, that's a pretty hard crease. That dark spot there is because I couldn't get the cleaning wheel in there. But maybe you can see that this one started to flush up a little bit. So I'm just going to essentially continue doing this and try to give you a little bit more profile of this thing so you can see how bad it is. Yeah, you can really see that divot there right around that letter hole. So I'll put some, get a stalk in there, maybe pull it out more. Oops, sorry. Put a stalk in there, maybe come out more of an angle instead of straight out, and see if I can work that out a little bit. I'm not going to keep you on camera. I'll come back here in a little bit and show you what progress I've made. I'm going to go get the door and put it right here. Got it! Just kidding. Dent's coming along pretty well. Got definitely, not, I wouldn't say a majority of it out, but I got a pretty good crease right there. I showed you that before. That's going to be a pain to get out. That's going to probably take some dolly work and hammer work to knock this. There's a real high spot right here, even something the shrinking disc I don't think will get. But you can kind of see that I got a couple spots here. These extra little marks that you can see here, that's where the collar here of the this collar is touching. The instructions say to push down. It's kind of spring loaded. I didn't show you that. You see how it's kind of spring loaded. You push it down onto there and try to come in flush contact with that collar. Because the metal's all dented in an angle, I can't get a flush contact. So like this one here, this is where the center stalk was, and this is where they completed the circuit for getting the current to flow. What I'm going to try right now is I've got a divot here. It's kind of hard to see. Maybe you can, yeah, you can kind of see that. So I've got that welded in, and I'm going to try to just pull straight out with it. Another problem that I'm having is this knurled knob here. The metal is just not hard enough, and you can kind of see, I think, the copper. Each one of these is copper colored, probably like a coating, and you can maybe see on the knurling is starting to wear off already, and I've only pulled, you know, a couple dozen times. So this is probably not a tool that's going to last very long. There may be some technique there with it, but I'm playing with it a little bit. Every once in a while it'll stick pretty good, so I'm leaning towards technique, but we're going to see if I can pull this dent out and see how it works. Definitely going to work. Not completely out of there. I got a little bit of movement on there. I looked at the pin when I pulled it, when it popped off on me, and I don't know how well you can see it, but the pin itself, I think, is what's bending and flattening out and everything and getting scraped across. Even though there's some pretty good teeth marks in there, I think it's the, like I said, I think it's the pins themselves that are wearing and not allowing the knurled roller to grab anymore. I've got the door getting ready for paint here. I got it wax and grease remover, a couple coats, so I'm going to hit that here in a couple minutes, start mixing up some paint. But in the meantime, I'll keep working on this dent. And the thing is working well. I definitely recommend it. It's kind of annoying with this keeps slipping off, but this is not a difficult process. So yeah, quick update. Definitely the pins themselves that are flattening out and now allowing that knurled nut or knurled roller to grab on. I put this one on, give it a couple good whacks. It held right on so hard, as a matter of fact, that I couldn't get the pin back out, so I had to end up cutting it. But so that's not a tool problem. It's the pins wearing, which is probably by design, relatively soft metal, easy to grind down, easy to get rid of. 3 more coats of build primer. I got a little sloppy, I think, coming out of epoxy primer with my sanding scratches when I took this down and blocked it out the last time tonight before I sanded it. There was quite a few sanding scratches in there, so hopefully this build layer of build primer is going to fill those in. Getting a little sloppy, so I got to take a turn on that and make sure I'm not trying to rush too much. So probably not going to do anything else to this tonight, and we'll leave it here, let it dry up, but move back onto the bonnet and play with the dent puller. First set of pins are off, mostly ground down, however you say that. Definitely better. Not anywhere near perfect, obviously, but definitely better. This is probably going to be the hard part right here in that hard crease. The fact that I've got a hole there for one of the emblems, TRIU, the U, is probably going to probably add some difficulty there. I don't know if it's stressing or not. I'm going to try to get the hammer and dolly in there now and just kind of work, try and flatten some of this out a little bit now that I've got some work done, and then I'll get back on it with some more pins. Ran some 40 grit over it and see all the highs and lows, especially in there. I think this will be my greatest challenge. I got that one spot on the rear bumper, or the rear fender. I don't know if I can get to that or not. 2 things that are going to plague me. This spot right here, which is really nothing compared to the nose there. I got a low spot here and just a little bit of a crease here, and I can get some access in there. And the other spot, which I'm not going to get to right now, I got rust all over the place down here, is the spot that I repaired this fender down here, this piece, but I did on the other side. I did a horrible job of it, and that's probably going to come back and haunt me. But obviously you can see the surface rust that's starting to come through here, maybe even a little bit more than the surface rust. I got to hurry up, and maybe I should just stop what I'm doing and get this whole thing in epoxy. I don't know. We'll see. I'm going to try to show you a little bit better example of this. What I got here is, if you can see right there, I put a pin in and ground that down. I just put this pin in. I haven't ground that down yet. But right in between those two, I got a big old divot. Anyway, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to grind this down. I'm going to get it just so it doesn't get in my way. And I'm going to get a pin right in the middle of that divot and see if I can't pull that out, and so you can see it. So I'm going to shoot a pin there and try to pull that out, and hopefully you can see it. And then I'm going to start working on this spot, but I wanted to try to give you something that you can see. It's pretty subtle and kind of hard, but it's definitely coming out. There's a lot of hammer and dolly work yet to do up here. So again, I'm just going to line that guy up. You press down and spring load it, Hold it down for a second or so. Pull it out. You got that pin there. It doesn't really get all that hot. So now we'll roll this lock onto there. Alright, so that time that pin grabbed on a little bit better there. And that pretty much pulled out. So not completely, I shouldn't say pretty much, but that pulled out alright. Rotate the thing a little bit there and see if I can get it to grab again. Grabs a little bit, not as good. Try the same thing here. And I popped the pin off again. But that did work pretty well. Again, it's kind of subtle. I don't know how easy you can see that, but that flattened out pretty good. Got that divot right out of there. There's a little bit one above that. Maybe it's now something that I can put a dolly behind and use a slapping spoon to level it out. So now I'm going to just kind of make my way across here and see if I can't do a little bit better of a job in this area right here. All right, another thing that can happen, I don't know if I mentioned this, the little spade point where they cut these pins. Sometimes that widens out too far and it won't fit inside of the chuck, I guess you could call it. So sometimes I grind those down. It's a little painful. And every once in a while, one of these gets stuck. Good. So I just unscrew the handle so I don't have 2 pounds resting on it and I don't bend the metal that I just played with. And if I can't work it out like that, I just go ahead and cut it. And then with this end, you just bang that on an anvil or a hard surface or something like that. I'm not going to bang it on the bonnet, and that'll force that little knurled knob up and release it. All right, but that's really about it. There's not much else to it. So I'll keep working it, and I'll come back in a bit. So I'm real happy with this. Just throw some Bondo on there, it'll be all set. Well, you know me better than that, but so yeah, that pretty much smoothed out really nicely. Obviously still some work to do. Where I am having problems is right on this crease here as the metal rolls, which I would suspect, because that's going to be a hard, just due to the work hardening of it. As it got rolled there, I expect that to be a little hard, so I may have to Bondo that. I'm not really have a choice, but I'm gonna keep trying pulling that out. But as far as all this big old divot in here, if you remember, that came out pretty well. Still got some work to do there. I ground down most of this stuff, but I didn't go flush because I don't want to cut into too much metal until it gets a little bit flatter. But yeah, that thing, my new favorite tool, I guess. Thank God for Harbor Freight. All right, everybody, that's it for me tonight. I think the repairs to that bonnet nose went really well. I'm really happy with the way that spot welder worked. Come through a little bit of the cheapness in the tool itself, the slide hammer with the knurled knob there, but I think I can overcome that. So if you're looking to get some dents out that you can't get access behind, I highly recommend it, at least for me so far. $100 well spent. Thanks so much for watching. Thanks for liking and thanks for subscribing. I do appreciate all you guys with all your comments, all your words of wisdom, and your help and confidence and motivation for me to keep going with Dartha here. I am having a good time, and I appreciate you coming along for the ride. So have a good night. Enjoy the rest of your week. Cheers.